What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Homies Advice. This podcast is going to be a little bit shorter than I usually have them. So I kind of thought, a longer podcast is cool, but then sometimes people don't have that much time to kind of consume that much content. You know what I mean? So, the first podcast was I don't know, 20, 25 minutes or so. I want to say it was around 25 minutes. And then the second podcast that we just put out last Wednesday was about, I want to say 39 minutes, 40 minutes almost. And what's crazy is that I was editing that podcast, right? Not the vocals so much that took me so long, but the video portion took me so long. And I feel like this is gonna be like a testing and experience to kind of figure out what's the sweet spot and putting out the content. What, how much are people gonna actually listen to? What are they gonna click on better? Um, and by experience, I know that people are gonna watch what they want to watch, and people that's title included. And now with the podcast, it's more so like when you're listening to podcasts, right? You're not really thinking too much about, because think about it, okay? You're looking at a podcast, or looking at the title. You're looking at the title, the cover, and how long it is, because you want to know how long it is. Is it gonna take the whole trip home, and am I gonna be able to listen to this whole entire podcast, or is it gonna be a little bit left over for later when I'm at work and I'm hearing this podcast? And that's how I kind of think of the podcast, as a trial and error. But I trying to figure out what is better, and I think the sweet spot is right between the 40 and 25-minute mark, and that's around 35 minutes. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of what's to come for the future, and even in this podcast. But I'm going to tell you right now that I have some podcasts lined up, and I want to talk to people that I can, homies, family, friends, whatever you want to label them, but people that are close to me, or that I've had conversations with, or that are going somewhere in life, and I feel like we could connect on sort of a level, whether it's creativity, music, sounds, anything that's kind of creative. Because as you see, I'm kind of in that space of dipping my hands into pretty much everything that I can, but most importantly, what makes you happy. And I'm gonna tell you this right now, that's my advice. If you get anything out of this podcast that I'm doing, do what makes you happy. And that's for anything in life. That's more so for work, because we gotta make the world go. Money makes the world go round. We gotta do what we love. We gotta do things that we don't want to do sometimes, but most importantly, do what you love, and it will not feel like work. Because we gotta work to make the rent. We gotta work to provide for our kids. We gotta work to provide for the people that we love under the household, and make food, put the food on the table. There's a lot of people still, going through the phases of life. And I think one of the phases in life before you actually grow up as an adult is eat a lot of fast food. And that's like a teenager phase. I feel like that's a phase that anybody could go through. And when I mean anybody is more so me. I'm on kind of a unhealthy tip, and then I go back to being healthy, and then I go back. It's just it's hard sometimes to, especially with food. No lie. I talk about this with the people closest to me. We kind of talk about food a lot. Honestly, we all know what's right and wrong for what we do in life, And that's one of the things that I don't like to admit, that like, see, I know it's wrong to eat bad, but also you also gotta understand to live a little. You also gotta remember that you're human, and your life is, meant for experiences. No matter what it is, honestly, I feel like you gotta go through things to know if you're gonna like them or not. You gotta go through things to understand what it's like. And I think, eating certain things or eating bad things versus good things are always a learning experience. Not only that, it's just an experience off top. Like, you gotta remember that even like going different places, life is an experience, man. I'm trying to figure out what direction, cause when I was trying to do the first two podcasts, I was trying to figure out what direction should I go through, what I really want this podcast to be about, and what can people get from it as far as value. And see, like, so I'm a podcast listener, and when I listen to podcasts, I think of kind of like sitting back and enjoying what I listen to, rather than learning and going heavy in trying to think about what people are trying to get from it. You know what I mean? I'm trying to combine both of those and meet in the middle with it, because I want this podcast to be something that I want to listen to, but I also want to make this podcast to where it's valuable still, and you understand that whatever comes out of anybody's mouth that is on this podcast is real, like the reality. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to speak on anything that's like not what I'm living, that's kind of like fake and garbage kind of stuff. Create like an atmosphere to where if you were like here chilling with us, or if you were talking with us and you were understanding what we're saying, and you're like, oh yeah, I get that guy, or oh yeah, I get that girl. That's what I'm trying to create here. And the next few podcasts, hopefully, are going to be exactly what I'm saying, because they're going to be, on the other end of people showing and telling and just giving their all. And you're going to try to be like, you're not going to try, but you are going to understand that these are real life experiences, but we're going to go heavy with it at times, throughout the podcast. So hopefully you understand, and hopefully you like what's there to come, because in reality, like I said, you got to do what I love. I mean, you got to do what you love. So me giving you that advice, I got to do what I love, and what I love is whatever feels right, and whatever in that tone or in the way that I talk, it's just natural, you know what I mean? And like I said, the first podcast, the way I talk to my daughter is the way I talk to my daughter on this podcast is the same exact way that I talk to you, talk to the listener, talk to the viewer, the audience, whatever you want to label yourself, or the homie. If you want to label yourself the homie, the more you listen to these podcasts, that's pretty much what you're gonna get. You're gonna feel like you're part of the family, the homies. You're gonna understand by the way we talk and the way we say certain things. You're gonna understand the experience we go through and all that. But I got some crazy life stories that kind of, are motivational to you, and I kind of want to end this podcast on a motivational note, and for you to understand that we all go through things, and life is never over till it's over, and you gotta understand that you do gotta face things that you don't want to do, but if you do get the chance to do what you love, you know what I mean? And by that I mean school. By that I mean traveling to different places that you don't necessarily want to be, but you gotta be. Stuff like that. So, back like in, I want to say 2013, uh, I ended up moving to downtown LA, and I did this because I went to school out there. I went to a school called FITM, Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, and I went for digital media. And so by doing that, I figured, I want to do something more than photography, more than graphic design, more than, all those combined. And this was the thing that I was going to do. So I ended up going out there. And let me tell you, if you love something, go do it. If you're working a job, I'm telling you, you're going to sleep on the floor. You're going to sleep in your car. You're going to do whatever you can to understand that whatever it is that you're set out to do, you're going to do whatever it takes. And this is kind of like part of that situation or part of that energy. I went out there. I knew I wanted to go to that school. No matter who went there, I knew the vibe felt right as soon as I took that tour before I went to school there, because it was either that or this other school called the Art Institute. And if I went to the Art Institute, it would be very different. It would be for sound engineering. But I didn't go because I'm like, it's either sound engineering or digital media. And I felt like you could get more out of digital media than just sound engineering. And to be honest, like me going through the digital media for 2 years, there was a little bit of sound engineering in there. Not quite the same concept of what the Art Institute had, but everything else kind of like touching on it. But yeah, I mean, to touch on it a little bit, I was out there in a studio apartment in downtown LA. I want to say I was in the arts district. The way I know is because they have signs on the streets and they have like little logos. I want to say it was the art fashion district. I want to say it was the fashion district. I'm not too sure, but it was I stayed on South Main and 8th Street, I want to say, in a studio apartment. And the way I was doing this is I would literally go back and forth from where I live in the Coachella Valley, currently live, to downtown LA every weekend. And I give props to my mom for helping me out. If you have the help, you take that help. No questions. You have that help, you take that help. No matter you had too much pride, you got to do it, because I'm telling you right now, help is better than nothing at all. And that kind of like got me through it, because if I didn't have that help, I probably would have struggled going to that school. And not to say like for the paying for school, but more so for going back and forth, more so for helping me with the stuff I was doing during the weekends here. So I was going out there for the weekdays and I was here on the weekends, back and forth, Friday, back and forth, Monday. So, you know what I mean? And not only that, I would get dropped off. I want to say San Bernardino has this train that takes you to downtown LA, literally from San Bernardino all the way to downtown LA. And I would go from there. They would drop me off. My mom would drop me off right there in San Bernardino. and I get dropped off all the way in downtown LA by the train. I think it's called the Metro Link. If you're trying to get through something like that, that's kind of like a cheaper way to do it. However, it might take a little longer, but yeah, I took the train, and then from the train station, I would walk from the train station all the way to the apartment. And that literally, I want to say that was a good like 45-minute walk, something like that. All these times, I'm telling you this story because all these times and all these times of walking and all these times of struggling to do what I want to do, it's all worth it. It's all worth it. You got to remember these times and look back because it's motivation to yourself. So, just like they say, remember where you came from. Remember it, because you got to understand that stuff is going to help push you forward. Any help is better than no help. Don't be too prideful. Somebody's going to help you, take it. I mean, obviously, be wise and remember what that help is. And if they're trying to like play you and say, oh, I did this for you, now you gotta do this for me. Like, if you're trying to play you like that, nah. But I mean, if it's genuine help, take that. And remember where you came from, because not a lot of people do. They, go on and forget about everything. But you gotta remember where you started. You gotta remember how you did it. You gotta remember what sparked when you started doing certain things, because that's gonna keep you going, and that's gonna keep you, kind of like focused on the end goal. I mean, don't stay stuck in the past. That's not what I'm saying. Never stay stuck in the past, but remember how you did it. Alright, guys, this is the end of the podcast. Is a short one. Hopefully I made sense in what I'm saying, but like I said, take anything from the podcast, do what you love, stay motivated, take that extra help, do what you can, and hopefully I could get more in depth in that story sometime soon. But I don't want to make this one too long since it's just me talking, and I do want to save some of these stories, that I kind of have to motivate and to keep myself pushing, keep yourself pushing, keep my guest or whoever is on next pushing, who's on next for me to say a little story or whatnot. But thank you guys for hearing me out. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, remember, podcast every Wednesday, audio version, video version every Friday. And hopefully you hear me out. This is only gonna get better. Peace out, guys. Stay motivated. Stay blessed. Peace.